Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
Hello, bonjour. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast. I thought you were going to come in harder.
Oh, yeah, I know. I thought I didn't want to overpower you.
Fair. I am the host, Freddie Rivas. Who are you, sir?
Producer Matt Duncan.
And
yeah,
if people want to listen to this podcast, if they want to support us, if they want to, help lift us through the pantheon of basketball analysts and fans, how are they going to do that, Matt?
easiest way is to go to dunkspodcast.com. Put it in your browser, on your phone, or on your computer. We've got all the links there for you for iTunes and Stitcher and Player FM and Spotify and whatever your favorite podcatcher is. You can get us on there. And as well, we are on YouTube. We are stuck on 19 subscribers. It is tough.
Ouch.
Yeah, we get to the $100,000 mark for money if we get to 20. So if you guys could help us out, then we can maybe, start getting those toques made. Yeah, we want you to feel like you're a part of it. So, yeah, exactly.
So just subscribe, help us out a bit. Comment.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and if you're listening to this episode, it's a very special episode.
Yeah.
In that, based on some I guess developments in my life, we had to strategize.
Yeah.
We had to adapt. Just like our Raptors will this season.
Yeah.
Couple of hiccups. I guess first I'll preface what's going on. And I know I do tell the story with Antony Hall, but I was lucky enough to go to Just for Laughs this year
right.
with my show Rap Battles.
That's why we were off last week.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was very, very fun. I played in a charity basketball game.
Yeah.
It was Team Canada versus Team World. And I tore my LCL.
Oh, God.
It was in the second quarter of the game. Pretty embarrassing, but also, what am I going to do, right? Pretty hilarious. I did win an award. There was like an MVP of the game. And then they're also like, and straight up, this guy got injured, so let's all give him a cookbook. And they gave me a cookbook, and the whole gymnasium cheered.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I was pretty on top of the world, you might say.
Did they bring was there a doctor on site that looked at you, or was that a Just for Laughs gag actor?
It was a bit of a gag. Yeah. No, basically a doctor came over. I didn't realize he had a clown nose. There's no, it was the cop. Okay.
It was the cop.
It was the same guy. You know what I mean? And for some reason I thought, because the injury was real, that I wouldn't actually be getting gagged. Right. But yeah, sure enough, the tensor bandage was a fruit roll up. And he basically he pulled out a Dunkaroos, and then he did a whole bit around me getting injured and finished with dunking one of those Dunkaroos.
Just some solid references from our elementary school snack time. Very good.
It was a good bit, but I was hurt, right? So that sucked. But let me tell you something that is kind of unique.
Sure.
Because, anyone who listens to this podcast knows that I'm not an insider, right? But Matt, do you know who I met?
Was it Mr. Blake Murphy?
It was not Blake Murphy. I have met Blake Murphy. He's awesome.
It wasn't Blake Murphy?
It was Blake Griffin.
Oh, Blake Griffin. Oh, it was Blake Griffin.
Yes, it was a famous basketball player. Not like an amazing Toronto sports.
That's hilarious. The entire time that you told me about the Blake Griffin thing, I was thinking of Blake Murphy. So when he was you were talking about how he's talking some smack a little bit, and I was like,
that's not Blake. Oh
weird.
My God, Matt,
this is kind of weird.
No, although I'm sure Blake Murphy must know all sorts of things I don't know.
My God,
Blake Griffin. He covers the team. I met Blake Griffin.
Oh,
the
man.
Kia commercial guy.
Yeah,
super famous,
Yeah.
Perhaps best dunker ever guy.
Detroit Pistons superstar.
Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's hilarious. That changes everything for me now from what you've told me.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So my brother Miguel and me, we were both injured, and so I crutch over. Miguel's in his boot. We're calling ourselves the comedy duo, Crutches and Boot, which we thought was fun. I can't tell that joke forever because I'm already off crutches. So just thought I slipped that in there. But so we made our way over. And oddly enough, we were chatting with Neil Brennan of Dave Chappelle show fame, and he's like, "I'll introduce you to Blake. I know Blake." And we're like, "Oh, okay, here we go." But there's a lot of comedians there, so it's a bit of a scenario where you're like, you got to be cool about it. But anyone who knows me knows I'm such a basketball maniac that it's like, we were cool for a bit. I'll say that. So we start talking to Blake. He's first of all like, yo, you guys are brothers and you both got injured playing basketball. Like, this is already kind of weird and funny, but he was really nice. I told him I was happy that he was with Dwayne Casey. Yeah. And he mentioned that, he really likes Casey. Casey's awesome. That's good. But, he was throwing some stuff here and there. He did say that there's only a few special coaches in the NBA. And I'm not, the conversation was going fast, so I'm not sure if Casey was included on that special list. He also said that Nick Nurse had a Lamborghini this year. So I think that might have been implying that, Nick Nurse had a bit of an easy job. But again, this is a private conversation. We're talking at 3 a.m. So I'm already breaking a bunch of rules.
Oh, it's okay. But, did you tell him that you have a basketball podcast?
I was right about to.
Okay.
Until my brother Miguel, anyone who knows him, he gets very animated. And Miguel said something about, like, don't you think, like, Lowry is the most, something underrated, something in the NBA? And Blake, like, before Blake could even answer, Blake kind of gave the face of, like, well, let me think for a sec. And then, like, right before he could answer, Miguel kind of, like, jumped on him and was just like, Lowry has the biggest heart in the whole league. And so I think Blake at that point was like, okay, these guys are amped up.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. By the way, his brother Taylor Griffin's chilling like a couple seats away, and I felt bad for the guy because people kept being like, "Oh, where's Blake?" And I'm like, "Man, I guess I forgot about Taylor." But Taylor was an awesome player.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he's incredible. Him and Blake tore it up in college at Oklahoma, and anyhow, like right before Miguel started freaking out about Lowry, I did the thing. I was like, "Hey, can we have a pick?" And he was like, yeah, of course. But then as soon as Miguel started freaking out about Kyle Lowry, Blake's like, all right, let's take the pick. he like, it wasn't full on like your Wayne Gretzky scenario, like I'm eating fries. Yeah. But he did be like, all right, these guys are probably pretty drunk and they're screaming at me about basketball, and I'm kind of just chilling out. So, but
I guess he doesn't want to talk about the Raptors for that long.
Listen, he would have been on this pod if Miguel didn't mess that up.
Oh my God!
No, it's good. Hey, we're passionate fans. What are we gonna do? Right?
I got to get my Blakes in order because I was like, it really actually took me down a notch thinking that it was Blake Murphy, and I was like, oh God, this guy's like a Raptors reporter, and he's talking shit about the team. Like, this is rough. Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't. I'm glad I was Blake Griffin. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah, okay, I'll also say this. It wasn't Blake Sheldon, whatever that guy is. Okay, it wasn't him. Okay?
Wasn't
it was
Blake
Griffin.
The country
yeah, whoever the handsome boy is. Okay. So I feel like we should preface people. I'm doing this from my place. You're doing this from your place.
Correct.
I'm rocking a condenser mic. I think you are too.
We are.
We had some technical difficulties.
We did.
In the first call with Cathryn, she's cutting in, she's cutting out.
She's auto-tuned. She's
pretty auto-tuned. She's pretty robotic sounding, at least on my end.
Yeah, on both our ends.
So, but the content is huge. So I hope you do persevere. With Ned, who's our second caller. I mean, there was some echo before we started recording, and I thought things were going pretty well until, I mean, there's no other way to say this. Pavarotti burst onto the scene. Out of nowhere, Matt thought he was muted. He just gets to the top of the mountain. He starts singing Ricola.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, you were singing. That's the only way to say it, right? You were singing.
Yeah. No, I thought I was on mute, and I started singing, and then you guys both reacted immediately to it. And then I realized that something wasn't right. You can hear the whole thing.
And it's funny because it took you a while to realize that we heard your singing.
I was really shocked. I was like,
yeah, honestly,
I can't really describe how it felt, but it's like it just put me into a wormhole. So,
well, I hope it felt good. And for all the folks who listen to this pod, you're in for a treat.
Yeah. This is the off season, and this is the time for you to get in the fun house and start smashing into those mirrors. So. That's what it's all about.
Our last call was with Antony Hall, and I mean
that one's pretty good.
I thought it's pretty seamless.
Yeah. We had a little issue at the beginning, just like I guess a Facebook rule where you can't just. I mean that makes sense. You can't just call anybody. I mean that could for sick people that prey on people. You don't want
sick freaks out there.
You sick freaks. You don't want them to be able to just call up anybody, because you can search for anyone. So yeah, I get that. You got to add a friend and then you can call them. Okay, fine.
Okay. Well, goddamn, I think we rocked this intro, right, baby?
It would have been horrible if it was just you hearing both of us, but we can't hear each other. And then you're just relaying what we're saying back to each other. I thought that was going to be for a second. I was like, well, why not? I mean, the way it's going right now, why not? Let's fucking do it. Yeah. Anyway, but it went smooth. Everything's good. We're in the off season right now, and no one's the Raptors are below the Atlanta Falcons. Hawks.
No, they're not that bad.
No.
But people are low on them, so
they're super low. It's not right. Cool.
We're a positive pod though. We're gonna pump things up.
Serge is eating pizza. Should eat it, shouldn't he? It's that's where we are in the summer right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, without further ado, let's get popping, right?
Yeah, let's get popping. Cathryn Naiker.
Okay, I'm here with Cathryn Naiker, my super bud. She's the biggest lover, I think, of Nick Nurse in the whole wide world. Way before the Arkells, way before Nick started getting famous for his piano skills and his box one. The OG. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I busted my knee, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
I saw you briefly in Montreal with a busted knee.
Yeah, it was quite the ordeal.
I could only imagine.
But I'm happy with this weird new setup me and Matt have. I'm talking to you through a condenser mic. Ooh. And as always, there's Raptors stuff to get to and there's NBA stuff to get to. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
I don't know what that. Yeah, sorry. Are you ready for more conversation?
Go to the washroom first.
Yeah, man, you come on a Confederacy of Dunks basketball podcast, shit gets intense real quick. So VC, I feel like it's our annual, Vince Carter temperature take. It's off season. It's perfect timing for Vince Carter because once again, of course, he's not retiring. He's been the oldest player in the NBA for, I think, I don't know, like 3 years already. He doesn't even seem like this is going to be his last year. But he got asked if he would be interested in playing with the Raptors, and he kind of more than insinuated that he'd be down. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I know your Vince Carter feelings, if you hold a lot of anger towards him or if you love him or
I have a lot of feelings. I have a lot of feelings. So first of all, I love that you said annual temperature check because it really is an annual conversation. Vince coming back, like, how do we celebrate Vince's legacy? Like, it's an annual thing. And I think for Vince, like, coming out and saying, like, yes, he'd like to play for the Raptors, I think that's low key Vince being like, yes, I would just like to play in the league again. And at this point, I will accept the offer that's given to me.
Right. So it's kind of like a less sad version of Jeremy Lin being like, I think the league's given up on me.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think which is like, we should put a pin in that, by the way. But yeah, like, I just feel like, the whole, free agency saga is over. I believe Vince is still unsigned. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So I just feel like maybe Vince thought he would have been picked up by another team by now. And anything that is about Vince playing in the league, regardless of the team, is good for him at this point. And yes, he's the oldest player in the league right now. I believe if he plays another season, he'll be the longest career in the NBA.
Really?
Or like very close to that stat. And I'm pretty sure he's trying to chase it. And why wouldn't he? It's a huge part of his legacy at this point to be the longest tenured NBA player of all time. I really believe he's going for that. And so that's why, to me, it doesn't matter to him if he's chasing a ring or if he's just mentoring young guys. It doesn't matter as long as he's in the league, as long as he's active in the league. I think that's all he cares about.
Do you know which three players are like technically ahead of Vince?
Oh, that's a great question. Is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on that list?
No, he's high, but okay. Vince just passed him last year. So,
okay.
Vince is kind of like tied with Dirk and KG, having played his 21st season. But yeah, if he plays his 22nd, he will officially pass Kevin Willis and Robert Parrish.
Yeah, it was Kevin Willis, was the former Raptor. Yeah. Wasn't it?
And
him?
then will he be number one?
He'll be number one, yeah. So I think he's played his 20th season and would be on his 21st.
Was he drafted in 99?
98? Yes. Well, I thought it was 98.
Wow. Honestly, I don't think we'll ever know.
Pretty sure he played 98.
You know what? No. He was drafted in 98, and then I think 99 was a shortened season.
Okay, check this out. From Wikipedia, Vince Carter announced his intention to play his 22nd season in April 2019. This would make him the NBA player who played for the most seasons.
Yes. He's going for it.
He's going for gold, baby.
This is my point. That's why I think he's like, sure, I'll play for the Raptors. Sure, I'll play for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
He'll play for anybody.
Okay,
right
so
now.
What's the juice? So I mean, where are you at as far as do you care? Do you want that distraction? Do you think he'd be a distraction? Is it good?
I don't think it will be a distraction for the players per se. I'm sure the media will make a big thing about it. I mean, of course they would. Why wouldn't they? Personally, I would just like to move on at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not really gunning for Vince to be on the team, especially this year. I feel like last season would have been the season.
Totally.
To bring Vince along.
We unlocked the curse without him.
Bring it back out. Yes.
Kawhi hit that shot against Philly, no less. You know what I mean? We straight up, I think we beat the Vince curse. So I think bringing Vince back after, I don't know, seems like we're embracing a new curse.
I agree. Not that I believe in curses per se.
Yeah, me either.
Just I feel like this championship should symbolize that we have truly moved on. We are in a new tier of teams that have actually won it all. And although we, are not projected to repeat in any way for obvious reasons, I do like the idea that the Raptors are going to have that like chip on their shoulder. We have something to prove. You know, we're going to show just how good we are and how much the rest of us have to do with that ring. And I'm really looking forward to that, not just to watch, but as a storyline. Like, I'm really kind of looking forward to us as underdogs and kind of proving people wrong. Yeah. And I'm not really in the mood for a Vince Carter distraction.
And while you were kind of like saying that, it kind of got me thinking. I think a big part of why I'm super hesitant of any type of, you know, like line of thinking that is about the Raptors being proactive with their three veterans, Gasol, Ibaka, and Lowry, and trading them at the deadline and all this kind of stuff. Beyond thinking, you know, the Raptors are good this year, and I think they are good, I feel like I want to see Fred or Norm or OG or Siakam. Like, I want to see how they embody the confidence of a larger role and being a champion. Like, I'm excited to see if any of them take a massive step in any way. And like, I think if we start to pick this team apart for assets, then we're really kind of sacrificing all of that development. And it seems to me like, yeah, not what a winning franchise would do. Like, even just, you know, if you think about us retooling, isn't the best way to retool, you know, to make the most of what we have and value our assets?
Yeah, I completely agree. And you know, making it about Vince again to answer, you know, this whole topic. I love it.
You got to make it about Vince.
It's just that, you know, like you said, we have a lot of vets on this team.
Yeah.
You know, we're not a team that's like looking to add another vet. Like, I just don't even really know how he would really fit in unless we're just trying to get like a few 3-point shots off the bench, maybe.
Yeah.
But I you know, that's the only like real role I could see Vince playing here. Like, you know, I feel like a lot of the younger guys like Siakam and OG and Norm Powell, like guys we're looking to see have a bigger role, like you said. I don't know if they really like need Vince taking up that kind of space on the court, but also off the court, also just being like, man, back in like 2001, things are so different in Toronto. You know what I mean?
I know.
I don't know if they need that. Like,
yeah, and like, he doesn't have that much, you know, great playoff experience. Like, he's been good in the playoffs. He's won some series. He's definitely, you know, had some massive performances, but I think maybe he's been to the conference finals once with the Nets.
That's right.
And so, I mean, you know, that was about as much playoff experience as like Lowry before last year. You know what I mean? So we have all these guys who've won a title. We have a guy like Fred who, you know, you got a bit of a cheeky vote for finals MVP from Hubie Brown. But Hubie Brown is like,
yeah,
crazy.
That was lame. And I love Fred, but that was lame.
It was a bit lame. But I feel like, you know, for a guy who bet on himself, every night before Fred goes to sleep, he just whispers finals MVP to himself. You know what I mean? Like, he's the type of guy that will for sure embody that confidence. Even if you're like, everyone's like, buddy, it was Kawhi. And he'll be like, no, it's fine. It was me.
I want him to get like a Hubie Brown chain or something.
Hubie Brown did, like, he made sure Fred is averaging 25 points a game next year, like, just by doing that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is like a huge blessing in disguise. Yeah,
oh man,
I love that.
Okay, let's wait. Do you have any more Vince stuff? Because I want to hit you on the player empowerment movement.
Oh, I mean, I could go on about Vince forever, but that basically sums it up. No, I don't think he should be on the Raptors next season. Although I will say I would like to see him in the league next season. Like, I'm all for Vince hitting that record.
Yeah, he's just got to break that record with the Knicks. You know what I
mean? Yeah. Like, with anybody. Like, I would love to see Vince have that for his career and for his legacy. But it doesn't need to be with the Raptors.
Yeah. OKC or the Knicks, Vince.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the last thing you want is Vince back again and everyone going, fuck, dark times, eh, man? You know, like, that's
exactly.
not...
Do you remember Do you remember when there like wasn't even, mention of a Eglinton LRT line? Like that was fun. Okay. Let's jump to. We actually don't have too much time left, but I feel like we can get out some points here. I feel like we're in the same spot with player empowerment, Cathryn, but I don't know. I'm kind of bothered with how it's framed. It's always framed as, the players kind of coming to the table and using their leverage is like, oh, whoa. That's all a bit much. Now the table's crowded. And, it just seems like there's no honest conversation around the fact that teams and owners and coaches have so much power. And, there was the Pau Gasol trade, which made the Lakers an amazing team. There was, the Boston Celtics traded for Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. And, there's just a long history of NBA teams making huge trades and assembling these like massive, incredible squads. But with players deciding to do that, it's like, oh, whoa. Now it's all a bit much. Am I off?
It's for me on a personal level. It's difficult for me to be like pro billionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, not that I hate all billionaires per se, although I might. In terms of the whole like player empowerment, the way it's being framed, I agree. It's being framed in a way that's sides with the owners, and I feel it's all about control, I guess. And I'm not big on sympathizing with the billionaires, if you will. I guess what we haven't seen in the past is like, with Kawhi and the whole Paul George trade, we haven't seen such a power move like that from a player, really. So I guess that's what makes it shocking and new to people. One thing I like about it, if I'm a non-biased Raptors fan for a second, is that it did create more parity in the league. And
100%.
I think that's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like it's like, you've added this new negotiator, and, teams are trying to make super teams, players are trying to make super teams. And I think what you're going to have is like all sorts of kind of, like just different people having different initiatives. And, sometimes you'll get a powerhouse, but Golden State was only a super team after Durant joined. So sorry, I jumped on your point there, but that's totally how I'm feeling.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think like a lot of these players, the older generation of guys who like stuck around with the team for a really long time and maybe didn't win it all, like the Utah Jazz, right, with like Karl Malone and Stockton, and they look at that and they think that's not the legacy I want. I want this other legacy, and then so they're not valuing being with a franchise for a very long period of time because they're like, well, I'm still going to be really famous and really rich, plus I'll have a ring, plus I'll be, higher up in the greatest of all time conversation because of it. And staying with a franchise holds less value in the greatest of all time conversation than the number of championships you have.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. That's basically exactly how I feel. And the count the rings conversation is annoying. And I also feel like we should bounce out of this convo before we cut you out again, because that was a nice succinct point.
I'll say one thing. Just
sure.
As a fan, the only thing I don't really like about the player empowerment thing is that I think they sort of underestimate how much fans root for a team, not just a player. And there's a part of that I kind of miss.
Yeah, and I'll also say the transaction obsession is only increased. Like as far as like people are like, oh, I don't care about like what's happening on the court. I only care about who might go where. I think that does increase with like, people openly kind of like, like players recruiting each other as well.
Right, and I think a huge part of it has to do with fantasy leagues growing and stuff like that, which all makes sense. now like gambling's a big part of the sport. I guess it's just not how I personally enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Like, I understand it for what it is.
We like to watch the games. We like to watch the games. I'm Michael Rappaport now.
Michael Rappaport.
Hey, I'm in an
Oh
alley.
my God, we should work on our Rappaport impressions for your next off-season episode.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do like some,
done.
yeah, let's do like I feel like he's just
The
trying to,
Knicks are killing me. The Knicks are killing me, guys.
he's just trying to channel Red Auerbach. Like, get the ball. Okay, Cathryn. Well, thanks so much for being our first guest on this new condenser mic, multi-layered system we're working in.
We'll try and stitch it together nicely, like a Tim Burton film or something.
Tim Burton film.
Fun.
Wow. Yeah. Before we leave, any fun plugs you got? Like, I know you were just at JFL with me, but
that was fun.
What's going on for you that's coming up?
I just pictured your Confederacy of Dunks logo with like the Edward Scissorhands like in the ball.
Yeah, that's our new niche.
Yeah.
Palming the ball with the Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah. I have a few things coming up. I'm performing at the Wavelength Music Festival, opening up with some comedy there. So cool. That'll be fun. I believe that's August 17th. And just you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram. It's me_Cathryn. And fun times.
Okay, buddy. Well, thanks, and I'm sure we'll talk about Nick Nurse soon.
Let's do that.
Ned Petrie.
Okay, I'm here with Ohio's own son, man from Akron, Ontario. Not LeBron James, obviously, but even if it was LeBron James, I would let LeBron know that Ned Petrie is also from Akron. He's a pretty funny, great guy who has amazing basketball opinions. Ned, what's up? How you doing, man?
Hey, it should also be noted. So LeBron James was born in Akron, and so was Steph Curry. Were you aware of this?
Oh, that's right. I think I did read that.
Because Del Curry was playing for the Cavs at the time of his birth. So they were born at the same hospital in Akron, Ohio. Who knew? The cradle of great NBA champion MVP legends.
That's actually like same hospital?
Yeah. Well, Akron's not that big. I mean, to be clear, I'm from Lakewood, Ohio, which is a few hours, I don't know, maybe an hour from there. But yeah, Akron's, it's a bigger city, but it's only a few 100,000. So, if you're going to have a baby, it's probably going to be the same hospital.
Ned, don't show them how the sausage is made. You're from Akron, Ontario. You're from the tallest building in Akron, Ontario. That's where you were born, in the penthouse.
Absolutely. I was.
And there's like a helipad that you would, I guess, you'd stand on top and look out over Akron. So
that is absolutely correct.
Yeah. If you're at home and you're thinking about Ned, that's how you should think about him, like standing on top of that building.
I encourage this.
Okay, let's jump right to some stuff. Do you want me to hit you with Raptor stuff or NBA stuff first?
Whatever you want, man. Wherever you want this to go.
Oh, this is fun. This is fun, my own show. Okay, let's just jump right into the MVP conversation. I mean, I feel like it's an ever-evolving thing. There's recency bias there, but a bunch of the major trades have been made, and I think wherever Chris Paul goes is probably not going to influence the MVP race that much. So, who do you think is going to be the MVP next year, and why?
So I was thinking about this, and I'm guessing, I didn't look it up or anything, but I'm guessing that if one was looking at Vegas odds, if one was looking at Las Vegas odds or something, it'd probably be, the same candidates there have been the last few years. But that's boring to me, man. If I'm placing a bet, I want a dark horse here. You know what I mean? I want something completely off the wall.
Oh, I'm into this. TJ Warren.
Well, I think we might get a new MVP for a couple reasons. I was thinking of this because you were right. You're talking all those trades. We have a lot of big twos.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's tough. If everybody plays as well as they're capable, they might be, splitting votes with one another.
Right.
There's load management, obviously, which could be a factor. Even if Kawhi Leonard keeps playing at this high level, would they give him an MVP if he only played 60 games? Something like that. And then of course, the factor of just boredom and fatigue. Who wants to keep voting for these same people every year? You got to bring something different, something new.
Oh, I'm liking the build up to your choice. This is good. No, and it's true though. You know what I mean? Like there needs to be a narrative. So that's how I'm thinking about it.
Oh, the narrative is what it's all about.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember, we're about the same age when they would be giving they gave MVPs to like Charles Barkley and Karl Malone, who were great all-time players, but the main reason that they won was just because
Jordan fatigue.
They didn't want to keep giving it. Yeah, just Jordan fatigue here. So I'm guessing, some people think, oh, well, it might be LeBron or somebody if he pulls it around, but I don't know. I think some voters might be thinking, well, you got to give me a career year or something fun. So here's my dark horse candidate.
Here we go.
Damian Lillard.
Whoa.
And here's why.
No, hit me with the why.
Because he's awesome,
Yep.
First and foremost here. And B, because it looks like expectations are low for these Trailblazers. I was reading something, and they placed the Trailblazers like 11th or 12th in the West.
I mean, I think people are pretty high on the LA teams, and speaking of recency bias, but Portland gets swept by New Orleans, and it's like, hey, let's blow this team up. Portland has like a pretty fantastic playoffs, does get swept by G-State, but also, I mean, I was watching those games, a lot of close games, lots of huge Golden State games, and I think it was a bit of a new team. It was hard for Portland to adjust without Durant, and I know that seems kind of like counterintuitive, but when a team doesn't have like a huge player like Durant, and that they obviously rely on, it's kind of like new data. So it's hard to figure out. And I feel like the Trailblazers, especially with the Nurkic injury, had a banner year. So anyone underestimating them, I think it's silly, really.
I was seeing some that was projecting them for like 38 wins or 40 wins or something, which might happen. Who knows?
No way.
But I mean, all they got to do is, if they hit 50 wins, then who knows? Maybe the voters are looking at it and thinking, hey, let's toss one Dame's way. We like him. So that could be a possibility. I also think in the West, because of load management and stuff like that, 50 wins might get you, one of those top 4 spots. It's altogether possible. Who knows? It's possible that some of these teams won't push it, because they're on this sort of, following the Raptors lead, taking this, focusing more on the playoffs kind of thing. That a team might overachieve their way into one of those top 4 spots.
Okay, so, I have a fun pick for you.
Sure.
My two. I have an actual boring pick. And then I have 2 fun picks. So fun pick number 1 is basically just solely narrative. And I think it would be fun to watch, but ultimately in the end probably will be a bit like, really? And that's Steph Curry. Because I think, even though Russell's there, it's his team, and this is such a like prove it year. Ultimately, I think he'll get nicked up enough to miss enough games and not be able to play as efficiently. Like he's going to have a lot of stress and pressure on him, just as far as like night in, night out. But I think I think he does have the opportunity to be like, oh yeah, I can do what Harden does. If you guys want to watch me score 35 points a game, I can do that.
Yeah, I think in the more likely group of MVPs are the Stephs and LeBrons, where there is that there's that potential of a changed narrative if they play in a slightly different way that might voters might find refreshing enough.
And I think
to go for it.
I think that's also true. This isn't my other fun pick, but that's also true for Anthony Davis. I feel like he's going to be on a good team, in my opinion, and playing with a player like, no offense to Drew, but LeBron is an absolutely different category of player. And I think AD, people haven't seen him on like a potential home court team, and they're going to be like just wowed by his stats. But my other fun pick is Jokic. I think that Denver is like team continuity this year, and I think that's going to really benefit them. And I wouldn't even mildly be surprised if they're first in the West by like a significant margin. Like when I look at the Western Conference teams and think about who might approach 60 wins, for me, it's Utah and Denver, and no one else really. I think some other teams, if they have a lot,
the Rockets. You don't think?
Yeah, the Rockets. It's funny you say the Rockets. I think they're the only other team that. But I think there'll be enough figuring out of Westbrook and Harden that could put them in like the 54-55 range. Right. But yeah, the Rockets are my other team. Like I don't think the LA teams. I think there'll be too much resting and all that kind of stuff, and maybe unluck and maybe chemistry or whatever. And it will be a different story come the playoffs. But anyways, yeah. So my boring pick, and I feel like I don't even need to explain why, but it is a repeat of Giannis.
Right.
I just think he's going to barrel through the East, and there's going to be all these question marks around like, oh, well, this person has help or whatever, and he's going to have Middleton again, and I think he's going to have insane numbers, and I also expect him to improve, which is pretty scary. So that's
the only reason why I would think not Giannis is just because of that he won last year. I think out of the East, I feel like the Sixers might put together the top 1-loss record, right? Which might put Embiid in the discussion. It just depends on whether he plays full season.
It's the year of the big man MVP. It's going to be like a Jokic, Embiid, Davis.
Oh God! I mean, by the way, your idea of Jokic there. If Denver is the top seed, I mean that would be real cool. To get a big goofball, have a big goofball.
Win,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Jokic. He's got a bit of a pudgy, a little bit of a belly there. A little awkward kind of guy. Everyone can relate to that.
He's awesome.
So those are all fun pits. And you also mentioned the Jazz. I was thinking another potential dark horse would be if Donovan Mitchell improves and they have one of the top records, there might be a discussion there.
Yeah,
possibility.
I was thinking, like slightly Gobert, if they have like an incredible record. But I think there's that team is really well balanced because Conley, there's an outside chance he's the best player on the team next year. I'm gonna hit you with a Raptors question.
Yes.
Who is your all-time least favorite Raptor?
Right. Well, there's some candidates here. I think some people would be, inclined toward, those handful of guys who just dogged it or refused to show up or what have you. My pick for my least favorite is a guy that's really not that bad of a player, but, a guy that's, was boring in context, and in retrospect, it annoys me that he was ever around. And that's Andre Bargnani.
Yep, that is a very, very solid pick for like worst Raptor because, I mean, we all were at least a little bit invested in him. And boy, oh boy, was it disappointing.
Yeah, like in retrospect, I can't figure out what went into that decision. Now, to be clear, he was like a 16 point per game career guy, had a couple of decent years, but when you figure what was on the table when you have a number one pick and you go with this guy and you wonder what did they see in him as a ceiling, Because I remember when they said they were going for him and thinking like, oh, interesting. Now, granted, that draft was not totally loaded. It's not like he was picked over Kevin Durant or something.
Yeah, I think it was Brandon Roy and Aldridge.
Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge, who both ended up with the Trailblazers, were on the board. And you just wonder. You just wonder what into that. Was everyone just so hot on Dirk that they thought any 7-foot European guy who could shoot decently could turn into Dirk?
Well, that was BC's whole thing. He was popping his his extended European collar. Mm-hmm. Like he was basically being like, I'm gonna bring you some Jose, gonna a little dash of Anthony Parker. Mm-hmm. Garbajosa, you better believe it. First overall pick, this guy from Italy, sure. Right. Like there was so much of that, and there was some magic in that first year. I remember before, the Raptors actually had good teams. Mm-hmm. We had a 47-win year, and it like matched like a Vince year or something. We were like, I think Bargnani's first year was
I think they made the playoffs his first 2 years. I think not that he was a key contributor in the playoffs, but there was some. It did feel like okay, this could go somewhere because they're young and everything. But the thing that has frustrated me in retrospect about Bargnani is that the novelty, the feeling was, oh, he's 7 feet tall and he can shoot with some range. Chris Bosh was on that team, right? Chris Bosh turned into a 3-point shooter.
He did.
Before his career was over. I was looking it up just for reference here. Bargnani's best season in terms of 3-pointers per game was 3.5, which is lower than Chris Bosh's best year.
Yeah.
As a 3-point shooter. So if they didn't go with Aldridge because they thought, well, we already have Chris Bosh, it's like, well, you could have turned Chris Bosh into Bargnani.
And I feel like that's where like the Dwayne Casey hire, really ends up being something that was like, it was good long term, but like he needed to have. We needed to have a different culture established for Bargnani to enter. I always think about what he might have been like had he entered like a Utah or a San Antonio, where maybe he gets bounced from the league, but I think that he's nurtured in a way that like he's a more valuable player. Like maybe he's never as good as like Lauri Markkanen might be, but I think that he would have fit better had he come into the league a little bit later and not, there's so many things with the first overall pick and
right. There are a lot of guys like that end up their career would be considered better if they had just been drafted lower.
Oh, Anthony Bennett is one of my big ones.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, that he's considered, the least productive number 1 pick ever. And because he was drafted ahead of Giannis, but gosh, if he was a low first rounder, who would remember anything? Like he'd be right where he was.
He'd be like Dwight Powell of the Mavericks. You know what I mean? He'd be like, oh, this guy's all right. Okay, so I'm gonna hit you with my least favorite Raptor of all time.
Sure. Go for it.
Yeah, I like you was like, okay, I don't know if you were thinking this is your line of thought, but I was kind of like, okay, Turkoglu, people who just like rejected being a Raptor at all.
The Raptors have a lot of those guys.
There's a lot of those
that
guys
didn't show up, or people that dogged it until they were out of town. And those guys are easy to put as your worst player.
Yeah. So I kind of like I went deep into my own psyche. I was like, what bothers me? And it's like me first guys who are chuckers, and you're kind of just like the offense becomes like a standstill, and like that's kind of like what they have. And it's not Mike James, because to me that was like a guy that's trying to get paid. For me, it's actually Lou Williams. So,
oh really?
Yeah, because I feel like it's weird that I feel like the reason I wanted to say Lou Williams is because I understand he's had such a, like a really good last couple years, and it was so incredible for the Clippers last year. But I feel like the way he integrated himself and was integrated by Dwayne Casey, with for a while, was it Jose and Kyle or just Kyle? Or no, sorry, it was Kyle and DeMar. And just the way he hijacked our kind of like system and had like, 4 to 5 really exciting kind of like buzzer beaters. And that just gave him like total autonomy forever. It was just so frustrating to me that I feel like I held a legit grudge. So even this year when he bashed like, living in Canada, I was like, you bastard. You know what I mean?
That was so dumb when he was saying that. I mean, because it was the dumbest stuff. Accounts. Oh, I need to have different cash. I need a cell phone here. It's like, buddy, that can be worked out. Okay.
Yeah.
I moved to Canada from the States and figured it out in a couple of weeks.
No, Ned, you're still freaking out. You don't know what to do. And you're still on top of that building in Akron shouting.
That is a good pick, that Lou Williams, because when he won, like a good pick for, most least liked Raptor in your mind. Because that year, because didn't he win Sixth Man of the Year?
He won Sixth Man, and then he proceeded to just lay an absolute egg in the Washington series, along with a lot of the other guys. But like, he was just chucking garbage shots, and he had a really bad series
in the NBA Finals that year. That was the year I think Iguodala won Finals MVP as a sixth man. And Tristan Thompson became like the second most important Cavalier in the finals as a sixth man, originally.
Weird year. Lou Williams is not a low usage guy.
I think some people view him
not
as
spot
a
up
guy,
shooter. Like, you know what I mean?
I think a lot of writers like him because he has that sort of mentality that he's like a closer, like a guy that'll
for sure. He's a shot maker.
Kill you. And
he's a total shot maker, and he really improved his passing. But
people really respect those guys that are killers. But yeah, is he a guy that can fit with those guys? If he has to lower his production, you make a very good point. I don't know. I think you're right. People are projecting his last 2 seasons onto next year, but how's that going to work?
I mean, he was good with that really bad Lakers team, and he was bad with that really good Houston team, right? So, well, Ned, thank you so much. Do you have anything coming up you feel like plugging?
Look out for a kids cartoon called Monster Pack, which is going to be on YTV next year. I appear on that. Otherwise, look me up on social media or whatever.
Awesome. Right. Well, yeah, we'll plug you for sure.
Beautiful.
Anthony Hall.
Sweet. So I'm here with a hilarious dude. He's a sketch comedian. He has an amazing show that's out, and you got to check it out. And we'll plug that at the end of the conversation. He's also a softball player. He's a cool dude. Give it up for Anthony Hall. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime, man. Thanks for being part of this gauntlet trial and error first episode.
Hey, you got to battle through adversity,
We do, we got to battle. Like, I'm injured, we lost Kawhi.
Yeah,
We're having to do it from a remote location. Like, we ain't going down like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. So can you tell me a little bit about how you sustained your injury? Was it in the Comedy Records softball or basketball game at JFL?
Oh, yes, it was. Basically, I was the big man on the court for the 2 minutes before I got injured.
Oh, no.
And there was a big Brazilian guy. He was pretty strong, throwing his weight around a little bit, but nothing like too aggressive. And I remember looking at Gary Rideout and just saying like, yeah, I'll grab this guy. And he put up a shot. I kind of bothered it a little bit, and then it, hit the rim and then bounced towards the 3-point line, and he chased it out. So I kind of loosely followed him 2 steps, but he grabs the ball and just turns right back and comes right at me. And I kind of thought I would get in front of him, and then maybe he'd start to post me up.
Right.
But he just went right through me, and basically my leg snapped. It sucked. It was,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, there was a snap. Basically, I was a bit out of position, and then as soon as he hit me, I felt that it was just click, click, back of my knee.
Oh no.
Yeah, torn LCL is the verdict, which really is not that bad. It's I'm hearing six weeks roughly for recovery time, no surgery, no crutches. So anyone who's had an ACL or MCL or meniscus, I think, is telling me that this is really not that bad.
It's no Achilles, it's no navicular fracture. You're not going to be sitting out the next entire season or anything like that.
Wait, what's the navicular one again?
That's like it's like a foot. It's a bone in your foot. It's what Bull broke.
Oh, right.
In his I think it was like his third game in Oregon, and he had to sit out the rest of the college season.
Oh man, that's right.
And for big men, it's a very important muscle, I think, in your foot, especially if you're a huge guy, throwing your weight around. So sometimes you never really fully recover from it. I think Yao Ming also had a navicular fracture as well.
Okay. So is that at all associated with the Jones fracture?
I don't know.
Because the Jones fracture is a big man thing too that I remember Durant had and he came back from. But Yao Ming apparently had the Jones fracture too. So I'm wondering if it's the same thing with two different names.
It could be.
Yeah. Well, anyways, fractures aside, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna hit you with how do you want to start this? You want to do Raptors first, or you want to?
Yeah. Of course. Let's talk about the defending champions.
Oh, I love it.
This is we are. What a time to be alive, man.
This is the best time. We're Raptors fans. We won the damn championship, and we're the defending champions until we're not.
Yes.
So
that might be sooner rather than later, unfortunately. But
honestly,
we'll see how she goes.
It's literally 9 months away unless we somehow miss the playoffs in true hyper embarrassing fashion.
Yes.
Which we are Raptors fans, so maybe I don't know. But okay, so. We got a bunch of new guys. Kawhi's gone. Danny's gone. There's some kind of regular vets. I don't think anyone expects Masai to make any trades before, at least a little bit into the season when we can start to assess what's what and when people start to inquire about our guys. So assuming we kind of have the roster we have now, who's going to crack the rotation? And the regular rotation is going to be bigger, right? We had the 8-man rotation in the playoffs.
Right.
And sometimes 7. And it actually, against Philly, Fred and Norm got cut from the rotation even. So it was only 6 guys, really. But in the regular season, especially with Nurse and all the experimentation, I think we can expect 9, 10, maybe even 11.
Yeah.
But let's go for 9, 10. And
okay.
We'll start there. So do you want me to list off who I think is obviously in there?
Well, I guess we can let's go with projected starting 5. In my mind, it's Kyle Lowry, point guard, Norm, shooting guard, OG, small forward, Pascal, power forward, and Mark, center, and then
totally agree.
Fred and McCaw and Ibaka in those 6, 7, 8 spots.
Okay, we're already in interesting territory with the McCaw.
Yeah,
because so I think I think it's for sure the 7, right? You have Fred and Ibaka, but then I think does McCaw immediately get the benefit of the doubt over Stanley Johnson or Rondé Hollis Jefferson?
That's tough because the way I look at it is McCaw is a pretty good defender, but he doesn't necessarily have the shot, and we do need somebody who is going to come off the bench that can help space the floor, because right now the starting 5 it's not looking great for floor spacing guys and guys who can make the 3.
Our shooting in general could be in a bit of dicey territory because Gasol can shoot the 3, but it's it's the center shooting the 3. It's he's not Lopez out there unless maybe Nurse is your Lopez this year. But
it makes me nervous whenever he does his very slow setup and
I know
it kind of cranks it back and then goes, and I'm oh my god, don't do it.
One of my favorite highlights is when he went full Fred Flintstone twinkle toes for I want to say 5 full seconds before hitting the 3.
Oh yeah, in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he finished with our best 3-point percentage in the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely,
by a significant margin. Of course,
he made some big shots, which was very, very surprising. Well, it's not. Maybe it was surprising to me because I was during the run, I was like, oh my god, just like stop Mark from shooting. But then when he did like pull up, he really made it count. And at that point, I was like, okay, fine. If he is shooting, he knows that like he is going to be the best option at that given moment for that given play. So like I trust him completely.
Yeah. I know. I 100% agree. So wait, okay. So let's say, okay. So like, are we agreeing on the? It's going to be the swingman, right? Those are the guys fighting for position, because with Fred backing up Kyle, I mean, maybe there's some argument for Matt Thomas backing up backing up Norm, because like you were saying, shooting is a major thing, and this guy's labeled as the best shooter not in the NBA, right?
Yeah. I'm like pretty low-key excited about him, just because like I have this like soft spot for like white guys who just shoot. Like that's like all they do. Like
the Jason Caponos,
I love those guys. Yeah, well, of course. Raptors, great. Oh, Jason Capono.
What about Boucher? Is he like? Are we too crowded at like if Ibaka and Gasol are sharing the center spot, and you got Pascal as the nominal 4, there's room there, right? For a power forward.
That's like it's weird, because like the 4 is a position that I think there's like a bit of a logjam there in terms of like natural fits. Like Pascal is obviously the guy there, but like I think OG is probably more suited to play the 4. Boucher's more suited for the 4. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is more suited to play the 4. Like, but then somebody has to play small, and they don't really have like a small forward who has the experience or consistency to be there. So like, yeah, I don't know how that's all going to shake down.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I think it's going to be a fun battle. Nurse definitely has like a fun team that has a lot of talent, a lot of defensive upside, and yeah, he's an offensive whiz, right? So he's going to have to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm also like cautiously optimistic about our G League signing guy, the guy from Summer League, Terrence Davis.
Yeah, I mean, he seems pretty good. I just imagine him and Duan Hernandez are going to get a healthy dose of 905. But yeah, maybe he's so good he pushes his way. If he can play any 2, right? I mean, Lowry can play the 2, so.
Yeah. Oh, it's so tough. Like I'm trying to like think like if the best course of action is to roll out like Kyle and Fred together.
It might be if Fred's that much better than Norm, at this point in his career, and his shooting is that good. Like Fred is a ridiculous shooter. So if we just need a shooter on the floor, like let's say OG and Norm have down 3-point shooting years. Both of them don't have like a long history of being good 3-point shooters. Like you might not be able to play them on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And then what
if Pascal's bad this year, right?
Right. Yeah. If he takes a step back. Yeah. Because then like you'd have to go like, let's say OG is in the starting 5 and then Norm relieves him. But then like when Norm is on the floor, then like everybody's smaller, right? So it's like, yeah, it's tough to kind of dictate who should be where, especially if the big question of shooting comes into it. Like if those guys can't figure it out, like it's gonna be interesting. Should be fun to watch. Okay, let's jump over to the NBA for a sec. Yes. This is just a straight up summer question. I'll probably ask again before the season starts. Yeah. But is anyone kind of like bubbling in your head when I mention breakout player? Or should we define that first? Okay, sure. I want to hear what your definition of breakout player would be. Do you think it's like a person who is going to take a big enough step that they're going to be a candidate for most improved player, or do you think it's just somebody who's going to be elevated to the point where like they really like help their team and contribute? See, I think both of those things are both like you qualify. Sometimes you're Oladipo and you're like, you're a high draft pick and you're so good. You become an all-star. Sometimes you're Siakam too, who's a bench guy who basically like jumps like 80 spots in the in the player power ranking. But I think
to what you're saying, it's almost like there's two different types of players. There's some players who are known quantities, but it's like, oh shit, they're amazing. And then sometimes there's a player that's like a total unknown or a virtual unknown that becomes like, okay, let's pick two different categories. Let's say the person who has the Twitter follower jump and then the person who has the like cred jump.
Okay. Like,
is that fair?
Sure. That might be a little bit. They might kind of blend into each other a little bit, but I think like the two guys who are gonna sort of like blow up in terms of I think like following and popularity are gonna be Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball. Like in New Orleans, I think those two guys with Zion,
I like that.
I think if
free of LeBron.
Yeah, free of LeBron, like they're playing on this like young dynamic team. Like Lonzo doesn't have to worry about like his dad or like the pressures of being like the next great LA point guard because of what Magic Johnson put on him, and he's like kind of gets to like play how he wants, and then he has all these weapons, right? Like it's just going to be amazing to watch him, and he's got such incredible vision, and that like him playing like on transition is going to be like crazy. His like transitional offense is going to be insane to watch.
Well, I like that. So I actually think okay, I'm not even going to go down this road because I don't want to like just turn myself into a joke immediately. But I did seriously think about Wiggins for this because
oh boy,
I feel like he is such a like especially since he signed that big contract. I think everyone was like, this guy is empty calories. He's da da da. But he's a guy that can get buckets, and I feel like Minnesota, their only way to get respect and to be good is to make this guy better. And I feel like they're going to be doing their damnedest to just turn him into less of a joke. And I think I think if he's decent, or if people stop being like, oh yeah, he's like empty calories, I think maybe that could be a big enough turn in his career. But my actual pick, because I was trying to think about like role and opportunity, is Malcolm Brogdon. Because nice. Well, I've heard Oladipo is not going to start like really being integrated into the team until around January. Right. So I feel like it's like Indiana for a couple months is going to be like the Brogdon show. And he's been this really good analytical guy that's been next to Giannis, and maybe he can't burden, or maybe he can't handle that large of a role, but I feel like he kind of can. So that's my pick is Malcolm Brogdon.
And I think like what we're really going to notice the hole that he leaves in Milwaukee.
Oh, 100%, especially since it's being replaced by George Hill.
Yeah.
No offense to George Hill. I think he was actually really good against us in the playoffs. But
oh yeah.
I don't think that. Yeah, I think when someone is just always being kind of quietly perfect, you really underestimate them. And similarly, I think Al Horford's a guy like that. Like I feel like when you don't have a guy like Al Horford, like it's gonna be a bigger impact than you realize. Like I think you take him away from your team and like expect to drop like 8 wins.
Yeah, totally. Like he's like Al Horford is somebody who facilitates the ball so well and actually plays defense pretty consistently well.
Oh man, also. He's amazing. Yeah, especially at this current age.
Yeah. My legit pick, I think, for breakout player, like straight up cred. Like let's forget about Instagram followers. Let's forget about that. Is Jaren Jackson Jr.
I mean, he should they're like Memphis is having like a rebuilding year full on.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're gonna want to see what that guy can do. So I think that's a pretty good pick.
And they just took John Morant, who is like he's an elite distributor. He's like this guy who he tries like so hard to get like these perfect like flashy passes into all of his guys who's playing on the floor with. I mean, almost to a fault because he's like a bit of a turnover machine. But like, if he finds Jaren Jackson Jr., like this guy's 19, like he's gonna get better, stronger, faster. And now that Marc Gasol is not in Memphis, like it's kind of like his front court to run,
Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty good pick too. one other guy, I feel like maybe this is the answer in like 2 years, but I had DeAndre Ayton in fantasy, and his numbers are insane. I just think Phoenix sucks so bad, and he doesn't play defense that he just won't get any respect if he's on like a 20 some odd win team.
Yeah.
But I could see people kind of just being like, I get that this guy's on a bad team, but he's really, really just dominating on offense.
That's true. Yeah,
maybe that's
his defense is a little suspect. I think I watched like a big video about how he like. It seems like he likes not trying. Not maybe trying is not the right word, but his positioning is pretty bad, and he doesn't have great instincts. And
he's almost like even worse than Towns. But it's funny because like I think like sorry to interrupt, but like it's funny you say like not necessarily trying. Who's the coach of Minnesota? Saunders. Saunders Jr. And he was kind of saying it's not exactly not trying, because if you think about where these guys are in the league, it's like I'm so sure they don't try ridiculously hard all the time, but it's a certain type of like kind of like intuitiveness, and it's a mental training defensively, especially when you're big.
Right.
Which is why you see a guy like Gasol, who's just slow as all hell, is constantly in the right position. Like it's like these fast guys, they turn and all of a sudden Gasol's there and they're like, shit.
Yeah, and that's like an IQ thing, and like these like intangibles that like all these like random sports media people talk about when they like don't exactly know like what the exact thing that's holding back a player is. It's just like like it's his IQ or like how he sees the floor, and like these are things that like it takes time to figure out, and there are definitely so many factors that go into a player's development, and like I'm fascinated to see who is going to make the jump, and especially in this upcoming season of the NBA where like the landscape for all teams is just like it's really changed. Like with now it's like a duos league instead of a super team league, so that's
it's
so
awesome.
exciting.
It's gonna be a fun year.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I feel like we shouldn't test this setup any longer.
Oh man.
Because this
flawless victory though on this one, I gotta say.
Let's wait a second. We're gonna hang up, and you're gonna be like, Antony never existed.
Yeah, I know.
You were talking to yourself, Fight Club style. It's a Tyler Durst scenario. Okay, but dude, you have so much going on. Can I just open the floor to you for a sec and just plug away? I feel like you're rocking it right now.
Sure, yeah. It's been a really awesome summer for me, and right now my show Ming's Dynasty is streaming on CBC Gem. You can watch all 6 episodes for free on the app or on the website. The show is basically just about 2 shitty Toronto Raptors who have to go back to small town Alberta and run a family restaurant. And
hell yeah.
Yeah, and I got to create it with some of my best friends and work with a really excellent team here in Toronto and out in Alberta when we shot it in December. And yeah, I'm just really hoping people get to watch it and laugh and have a good time and relate to the story. And aside from that, you can just catch me doing shows in Toronto at the Bad Dog Comedy Theater, at Comedy Bar, wherever, And yeah, you can also, I guess, see me at the softball field wherever we end up playing our games.
Yeah, new field every week. No worries. But yeah, check out the show. I mean, like, I don't know what's good for algorithms, like positive comments. Or just watch the show and share it with everyone.
Yeah, watch it and share it. There's no interaction is bad interaction, I guess. Like if people are talking about the show, that's all we want. And
fair enough. But if you listen to the pod and then troll the show, I'm going to be upset with you. I'll say that. Me personally, you don't have to be. I'll be the tough. Like for now, but like if you listen to this pod on a regular basis and you decide, to be mean, you'll hear from me. I'll limp over to you and I'll be pissed when I get there.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Cool, dude. Yeah, well, thanks for chatting with me, and talk soon.
Hello. Of course, yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Go Raps.
Speak basketball.
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.